Where I wanted to start, Dr. Ebadi, is to ask you about your journey in making the decision to pursue the cause that you so deeply believe in, and what was it personally that drew you into being a believer in what is your calling?
We were each born with a certain characteristic. I remember that when I was a child, whenever I would see a fight break out on the street, I would rush to defend the person who was being beaten up without really trying to understand what the fight was about, but that was what I wanted to do. Finally, that love for justice drove me to choose to go to law school, and after graduation, I became a judge. When the Iranian Revolution happened, I was told that I could no longer serve as a judge because I was a woman, so I decided to become an attorney at law, and I started defending human rights cases. I chose human rights because I think that it was the best path to help me achieve the concept of justice that I've strived to arrive at all my life.
When you think about this journey and the transition that had to be made from being a judge to being a person who is defending civil rights for individuals, how did you face the criticism and the acrimony and the pushback that you got from the culture in those early days?
In the early days of the revolution, when I started my work on human rights, defending the human rights cause was considered as a dangerous activity. I was actually called and labeled by right-wing newspapers a feminist, or a disloyal person to the system, or a human rights advocate, as if they were insults to a person. But as the years passed, there was more human rights awareness inside the country, and therefore being a human rights advocate was never regarded any longer as a negative thing to do, as a negative activity. So I think that in the path I chose to sustain myself through patience, and I think that you can overcome challenges by being patient.
When you think about the fact that it might have been dangerous or is currently dangerous in this role, how do you keep yourself inspired and motivated when your life could be in danger?
When you believe in the righteousness of your path and your cause, you take stronger steps. At the same time, please remember that I am a Muslim and I believe in God, and the belief in God gives me greater strength.
What would be your advice to a person who is trying to find their cause and their place as a young person or even in midlife?
One cannot be happy when one's neighbor is hungry. You cannot be happy when there are homeless people in your town. And you cannot be happy when you know of people who lose their life because they lack access to proper medicine. So I would say happiness is true happiness when we are all happy.
How do you bring other people into this cause when there are so many issues of either social pressures or the dangers involved? No one does anything alone. How do you recruit people to this dream?
I believe that we are instinctively and by nature good. It is greed that sometimes distorts us from the right path, distracts us, and takes us to the wrong path. I personally try to work mostly with young people. We go with them to check on homeless children and street children. We go to the jails and to prisons to see what problems prisoners face. And over time, I find that these young people become more and more interested in this cause. And I am very happy to say that those who have actually joined my cause are in fact doing more than I have done.
What do you wish you knew about pursuing your cause 30 years ago or 20 years ago that you know today?
Well, 30 years back, if I was more aware, I would have tried to have command of 2 languages at the same time so that I could communicate with the people better, and this was a lost opportunity.
When you think about the people who decide to come along for this journey, what are the difficulties that they faced or sacrifices that they may have to make in order to come along and support this cause?
I think that the first challenge is an inner challenge that we must all confront, to choose the path in our life and to set a goal. Is the goal to become wealthy alone? Or is the goal to gain inner satisfaction by providing services to those in need? There are days when you could earn nothing but feel satisfied for having served people. And I therefore believe that that inner challenge is the first step that needs to be taken.
How can we in the United States be supporting what Dr. Ebadi is trying to do? And perhaps she could mention what her goal is for this trip.
I have great trust in civil society in this country, and especially in the academic circles, the universities, professors, students. I find them to be very aware, very kind, and extremely brave. One of the goals of this trip is to discuss with the American people my recent book, which is my memoirs. This memoir carries you through my journey in Iran, and at the same time I have tried to tell people here what life in Iran is. I have mentioned in this memoir that people in Iran face certain challenges and have certain difficulties, that they carry certain criticism towards their government, and I have mentioned in the book what those criticisms are. But at the same time, I'd like to say again that despite the fact that Iranian people are critical towards their government and the political system, they are not willing to withstand an attack by the United States against Iran, and they will defend their country if that were to happen.
When you think about the opportunity to go through a day of turmoil, day in and day out, certainly you must have those days when it's very depressing or difficult as an individual. How do you lift yourself up and carry on with the pressures that you're facing both at home and in the international world?
I always have hope in the future. I have to remain hopeful. I cannot lose it. Once I lose it, I lose my activity and my activism. I compare my situation to a person on a ship. And when their ship breaks down and the person falls in the water, he has no choice but to keep swimming until he arrives at a shore. If he gives up hope, he will never arrive at the shore. That's the person that I compare myself to. I cannot allow myself, and I repeat that I cannot allow myself to give up hope.